Hello, welcome to this episode of Pecs and Politics. Now, I don't know if you've heard, but Shirley Williams died yesterday on the 12th of April 2021. Yeah, Shirley Williams. She died, she was 90 years old. She was a politician. She ended her days in the House of Lords, but she started off as a democratically elected politician. She came from quite a privileged background in Chelsea, but at a time that it was dominated very much by men in politics. She helped form the Social Democratic Party and then the Liberal Democrats. She fought for what she believed in social justice. I didn't necessarily agree with everything that she stood for and said, but she certainly used influence and power she had to try and fight for what she saw as positive causes. And she was also part of writing up new constitutions in Russia and in South Africa. So she's a woman who had accomplished a lot in her life, and she did it in a very sensitive way. She did it in a way that she didn't need to embarrass herself too many times along the road. And she was 90 years old, let me just remind you. She didn't do it by saying any racist jokes or gaffes or foot-in-your-mouth nonsense. She knew who she was talking to. She knew what was appropriate, and she achieved. And I met her once in a restaurant in Whitehall. And she was a woman, a very tiny woman, very frail in posture and demeanour. And she was just sat there quietly in the restaurant. And I rather embarrassedly, I was a bit starstruck. I couldn't hold myself back. And I just went up to her and said, "Listen, I just wanted to say I'm very proud of what you do, and I just want you to keep doing what you're doing. So thank you very much for what you do." And she was, "Oh, thank you very much." And I just walked out thinking, I've just interrupted Shirley Williams while she's trying to eat her bloody pasta. Leave her alone. But anyway, I said it, and I was pleased that I'd let myself be known to her, because maybe not enough people do, or maybe too many do, I don't know. Anyway, she's died, sadly. But she was old, she was 90, that's a good age, older than the average, because you may be mistaken for not having known, because since Friday, we've been rather bombarded in the press, both the British press and the world press, but particularly the British press, by the death of somebody else. Somebody who was 99 years old, a very old, ripe age indeed. So it was hardly unexpected. And this is a man who, yes, let's say who he is, Prince Philip, of course. Now, if you've watched my videos before, you know my view of the royal family. But what I want to come on here and talk about is first of all, the moment something happens to the royal family, remember the royal family dies, you get all the British people, or a large chunk of British people, become almost like zombies. Like, we love royalty, you can't say anything against royalty, everybody must think the same. And if you listen to the British press, you would think, you would understand why. Because all the British press, particularly in the BBC, which is what I have access to here in the Netherlands, every single station was Prince Philip this, Prince Philip that, sad music. Prince Philip was great, what an amazing man, what a fantastic person, what a martyr, what a saint. Didn't he do everything amazingly? And any mention of the gaffes that he made, oh, he was just trying to be funny, he wasn't really racist, it was just, he was an old man, old men do those things, they were just brushing it off as something that wasn't important. Again, Shirley Williams was 90, 10 years younger. Any racist gaffes? Any foot in her mouth comments? One comment I constantly hear from people as well is, yeah, he was a really funny guy, You're the sort of guy, Benedict, who would get offended by comedians saying things that might be slightly racist or inappropriate. Actually, I'm not. Comedians, I'm very rarely offended by. Even Bernard Manning, who was a complete racist, there's some jokes that he said that actually were quite funny. But the thing is, Bernard Manning was a comedian. And comedians are comedians. They're not the husband of the Queen. Ergo, the husband of the British Commonwealth. An organisation that was the British Empire, but did own pretty much half the planet. And a large chunk of which are non-white skinned people of all sorts of different ethnicities, religions and backgrounds. The other thing people are saying was, well, it's his generation, it's his age. Well, first of all, he wasn't brought up in Bethnal Green, right? He didn't go to some, like my granddad, he didn't go to some secondary school, leave at 14 in Essex, and then spend his life hanging out at the pub every Friday and Saturday night, drinking beer and telling racist jokes to his mates. Not saying that my granddad did all of that, but he certainly said racist comments. And that's not the life that Prince Philip led. Right? First of all, he was from Greek royalty, who had also suffered. His grandfather had been assassinated, I believe. He'd had two sisters, and this is hardly ever mentioned. This isn't his fault, not Prince Philip's fault, but he had two sisters who subsequently married high-ranking Nazi officers. He attended the funeral of his sister in Nazi Germany. Again, I'm not blaming Philip for this, but you'd think he would be more than aware of the history. He also went to a school in Switzerland which was run by a Jewish guy who had to leave eventually. Was it Switzerland or Austria? I can't remember. Anyway, he had to leave, and then he came to the UK and founded the school that Philip then went to in Gormiston, I believe. That was founded by a Jewish guy. This Jewish guy. So it's not that Philip didn't grow up in a time where there was racism and that he wouldn't understand the consequences of racism and divide. So the idea that, well, when Philip, people of that generation, racism was just an accepted thing. Oh, really? That's your excuse for the Holocaust, is it? That's okay then. It was never okay. Racism has never been okay. Now, whether Prince Philip is an actual out-and-out racist, I don't know, because I don't know him. But did he say things that could be perceived as being racist? Yes. Were some of them funny? Maybe, subjectively. Should he have been saying them when he's the husband of the Queen and the head of the British Commonwealth? Absolutely not. There's your context. His context isn't that he's an old man down the pub telling racist jokes to his mates. He wasn't. He was the husband of the Queen of England, the Queen of Jamaica, the Queen of Canada, the Queen of the Commonwealth, which has India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, a whole range of African countries, including Nigeria. This is not just some old bloke. That's your context. It's no excuse. So there's that. And of course there's the whole idea that, listen, people think I'm showing no sympathy, I show no respect. Well, first of all, it's very sad when anybody dies. Of course. It's sadder when it's somebody younger. So when Diana died, that was just awful. That was a tragedy. This guy died, he was 99. Of course it's sad when anybody dies. But it's sad when any 99-year-old dies or anybody dies. But I didn't know Prince Philip. I had actually met him, but I didn't know him. He has no relevance to me. As much as the British press and the British society tried to make him of some relevance to me, he is of zero relevance to me. I don't know him. I will never know him. I don't want to know him. If I accidentally had come across him at some point in my life and we became friends, then fine, I would have judged him on an individual basis based on his character, but nothing else to do with him. I don't know him. I don't care about him beyond the fact that he was another human being. Did he do some brilliant things? Yes, probably. People say, oh, he was a great husband. Lots of people are great husbands. He fought in the wars. My grandparents fought in the wars. Lots of people fought in wars. He wanted to marry the Queen. He did get married to the Queen. That's the kind of thing that people do who want to be involved with royalty. Anyway, he helped run and organise charities. Yes, that's what royalty tends to do, because do you know what? They don't have much else to do with their time. They have the time, they have the influence, they have the resources to be able to do good things. I would love to run my own charities and set up a charity and help save the world and do good causes. As it happens, I try to do what I can. There are some things that I do, but I don't have enough time to get all the money or the influence to be able to do those things. He was Prince Philip. He was the husband of the Queen. Of course he does those things because he can. And that's pretty much what every single member of the royal family does. It's hardly martyrdom. That's what they're there to do. If you're going to have a royal family, that's what they're there to do. And here's the other thing, right? I am no royalist. I do not like royalty. That doesn't mean I hate the individual members. I respect them as human beings. I don't know them. I don't hate them. I wish they didn't exist as royals. I wish they just went off and did their own thing and lived their lives free, away from the eyes of the press, to be able to do what they want to do, like what Harry is trying to do. I wish all of them could do that. As unrealistic as that may be, right? But you have to decide, right? You either say to me, well, it's an important job, being the royal family, in which case the comments that Prince Philip would make and the gaffes and the jokes he would make were totally inappropriate because it's an important job. Or you say to me, like so many people are saying, oh yeah, it was just a 99-year-old bloke, people do that, don't they? It's just that's their humour, just put it in the context, it was a funny bloke, Well, then he shouldn't have been the husband of the Queen, should he? He either takes the job seriously and you take the job seriously and you try to sell me the seriousness of royalty, in which case, totally inappropriate, or you're saying to me royalty is a complete joke and he was just a joker and so it's okay for him to say those things because royalty isn't really serious. Going to an African country and criticising a native person, for instance, is okay because royal family aren't serious, really. It's all a load of complete nonsense. You tell me. I'm not the one who believes in royalty, who believes in the worth of royalty, so I'm not the one that's trying to sell it to you. I just see it as it is. I see an old bloke who told racist jokes. You say that's acceptable. I say it's not acceptable if that's what you want, if you want to have a royal family. Not acceptable. So there you go. That's my take on it. And you know what? I'm allowed to have that view. I come from by and large, supposedly, a democracy. Albeit one that has a monarchy, which obviously isn't terribly democratic, and albeit one that has a first-past-the-post electoral system, which also isn't terribly democratic, and albeit one that still has a House of Lords, which also isn't terribly democratic. But, okay, I'm allowed to think what I wish to think, and I'm not prepared to be told that I have to adore something and believe in something just because that's what I'm told I have to do. And there are plenty of other individuals, as we've seen, who feel the same way. The most complained about event is the death of Prince Philip. Not the event. No one's saying it shouldn't have been in the news. Of course, it's a news event. We know who Prince Philip is, whether I agree with that or not. He's a well-known, famous person. Tell us. But don't tell us for 24 hours a day for the last 4 days. And don't insult my intelligence on BBC panel shows when every single member of the panel just speaks fawningly and adoringly about how great Prince Philip was, with 0 degree of criticism in its correct context at all. And I'm not saying you have to slag him off, but don't just brush off his comments as if he was just some random 99-year-old man. He was not. Anyway, that's my point. This is not scripted, as you can probably tell. I think I have got most of my points out. There we go. So that is why, no, I do not have any more respect for Prince Philip than I do any other 99-year-old man. And he lost some of my respect for the way he behaved. And yes, he probably gained some respect in other parts of his life. But so do so many other human beings. That doesn't make him amazing. That doesn't make him a saint. That doesn't make him a martyr. That doesn't require me to give him any more respect than some other random bloke down the road that I do not know. That's my point. Thank you. Have yourself a lovely day, and thank you for joining me on this episode of Pecs and Politics. All I'm asking you to do is just have a think. Think differently. Just try and see things from other people's perspective without zombie-like fashion going, you must respect, how disrespectful of you not to like the royal family. He's dead. Give him some respect. There we go. Okay, I'm done. Ciao for now.